Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Car Wash Magazine Live. I am your host as always, Editor-in-Chief of Car Wash Magazine, Matt DeWolf. And today, friends, we are going to have a fantastic conversation for you. We've got some experts joining this panel to help enlighten you on one of my favorite and least favorite topics, menus. So we're calling this one Menu Matters because menus do matter. And we're going to talk about how you can make them matter more in your organization and how you can use those as a tool to really maximize that customer experience and make that part of your overall brand connection. So we're going to get into that here in just a minute. I'm going to warn you all that this is going to be a show about some big ideas. And we're going to raise some questions and we're going to give you some thought-provoking stuff to think about. It might not work for your business, but it might. So let's without further ado, friends, let's bring in our panelists. We're going to bring in joining us today. We've got Jessica Price Easter from Qual Chem. We've got Ann Mauler from Soapy, and we've got Nick Rodia from Sergeant Clean. Everybody, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you, Matt. Happy to be here.
That's better. I mean, we're getting there. I mean, one of these times, we're just going to erupt in like applause and excitement because it's so fun to be talking about menus.
I'm gonna bring a cowbell.
Maybe not.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, a cow. Oh my God!
One of the poppers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, I promise.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to it. So, like, I mean, I expect that. Maybe the trick is I need to send you guys the swag, and then you can do the thing. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We're gonna talk about menus today. And I think where most of you stand on this topic. And so this is going to be a fun conversation. I want to go into, I think we're going to talk what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, what should we maybe be thinking a little bit more about in terms of where menus fit in our overall marketing efforts and customer experience efforts. And so, friends, because I really like to keep these things positive, let's start with what's good. And we're going to go, maybe you all can share maybe one thing that you feel like your organization is doing well when it comes to menus or something that you're seeing. So we're going to start with Ann. Ann, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, good morning. Thank you. When I think of Soapy Joe's menus, and the one thing I would say we're doing really, really well is absolute focus on our memberships. We retooled our menus about 2 years ago now and took the opportunity to take away messaging that wasn't helping us achieve those goals and add in messaging that was also dividing out our membership pricing from our single washes. So they actually occupy two distinct areas on our menu so that we are able to focus 100% on making sure that we're really focused for our sellers who are at those XPTs. It's easy for them to understand what the focus is. And then, of course, our consumers who are driving up and just need to know in an instant what the focus is. So for us, I'd say the thing that Soapy Joe's is doing really well is that focus on memberships as it's expressed on those menu panels.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of have to now, right? I mean, that's a thing that has to be out there. You have to have that as part of a holistic thing. And I think what that really does for you all is makes things consistent, right? And gives extra touch points because you might think that you're talking about something all the time, but for that customer, they might only get it one time in 3 months. And so we need to be mindful of that as we put these messages out there that sometimes just because we feel like we talk about a thing too much and then it's everywhere, that might have to be the way it goes. Nick, how about you? What is Sergeant Clean doing that you guys are thinking is good when it comes to menus?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I 100% agree with Ann. Well done. Prioritizing membership is a win. But Matt, I think you said it. You stole the word out of my mouth. It's consistency. So whether it's your physical menu that you may be distributing at the point of sale to non-members or members alike, whether it's a placard you may have printed out that's a little bit oversized, or the media associated with your point of sale software, having consistency across the board, I think is a win. Whether that's brand specific for color scheme, messaging, but ensuring that it's consistent across all visuals that you have associated with any type of menus on or off site.
I love that. Well, and So many things to talk about when it comes to menus. I'm so excited for this conversation, you guys. So, okay, so next we're going to turn it over to Jessica. For those of you who don't know Jessica, Jessica is with Qual Chem now, has a fantastic operator background as well, has sort of seen a lot of things. And so, Jessica, we're really looking for some major expertise out of you today. So, no pressure or anything. But what have you seen, or what do you think is going well when it comes to menus?
So I will say that menus are a really hot topic when it comes to us working with our customers right now on the marketing front. And we do what we can to support them as best as possible, whether it's from design or just creative brainstorming. Our stance on it may be a little bit different from other manufacturers. So we, along with Ann and Nick and what they were saying, we completely agree with supporting the branding for each individual customer at their individual locations. And it's not about promoting the Qual Chem brands for us. It's about building the customers' brands. And I think that's something really important when you're trying to figure out the best way to clearly and concisely communicate your offering to a customer. It's not about using brand names here or there. It's about, creating a strong package that you're offering to your customer that they understand what it's going to do for them. And so that's been our real big push. Hey, if you like our brands and you want to use our brands on your menu, you're welcome to. But, we really support our customers with trying to help them figure out the best way to communicate things to their customers. And that might not always involve our products or logos.
Yeah, that maybe the hardest thing to do as a brand owner and a brand officer, right, is to say it's okay if my brand doesn't show up on your thing, right? But sometimes it's not the right thing, and to do right by the people that we're serving and the customers that we're serving, that becomes super important. Okay, Jessica, you led us right into the bad, which I'm so thankful for, because this is where it gets really good. So, okay, friends, if you're watching or you're listening to this, get ready, because we're going to challenge you a little bit here. What's going on that's bad? And I want to start with everybody's take on what Jessica was just talking about. How much NASCAR stickering are you all doing, and is that good or bad at your menus, at your locations? Let's start with Nick, because I know you're going to have a good take on this. Okay. You love signage,
right? Yeah. This is a great talking point. I think it's something that we debate internally, and I think most operators do. My personal design preference is less is more, but I think, and maybe I'll come back to logos after the other two speak, but I think it's important that sometimes us as marketers or operators, in general, everyone has their own idea of what good design is or what marketing is. But I think it's hyper important to ensure that we're looking through the perspective of your members or guests. Those are the people that this messaging, this branding needs to speak to. And us as marketers and operators can't get wrapped around the axle in terms of what's best for us, maybe aesthetically. We really need to focus on looking through the lens or perspective of members or guests.
I love that. I love that perspective. We're going to come back to that, but I want to give you a chance to talk about what's bad, or maybe you think it's good. Maybe you think using lots of logo graffiti is good, but I'll let you have the floor.
For me, I go the opposite direction. No. So if answering your original question, what's bad out there, I just really have a strong reaction to complex menus, a negative reaction to them. So I was looking at a menu the other day, and there was 4 different levels of product. And then within the 4, you could pick an A or B scenario. And then there were add-ons. And then there was a business account version of that, which added on another price. But then in that business account version, it really just allowed access to discounts off those other add-ons. And the complexity that brings to the consumer in the moment, when us as operators are looking for speed of throughput, I think is at cross purposes with our goal of helping the customer find what is right for them quickly and have a confident choice on their hand. So for me, what's bad out there is over-engineered menus with too many layers and
Mhm.
even ones that have contingencies and riders that relate to each other. And I mean, you need like an abacus to get through that line. How do you do this? So that for me is a big no-no, is the over complexity of the offerings and the pricing scheme that goes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really easy for us to just slap a bunch of stuff on it and say, well, just people are going to want options. They're going to want options, options, options. But the reality of it is, and this has been proven out in study after study after study, that the more choices somebody has, the more paralyzed they become and the more unable to make that decision they're going to be. And so the last thing that you want when your lanes are stacked up and you are just sweating it on a busy day is for that customer to be sitting there going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to pick. Like, what do I do? I don't know. Do I want ceramic? I don't know what that is. What's the super shine? And so at the end of the day, customer experience should always rule out, right? Because you want less friction when it comes to that transaction and being able to make that really quickly. Jessica, because you started us on this path with with our logo talk, let's go a different direction for you. What do you tell customers of yours that they should be doing, right? Or maybe what they should not be doing, a do or a do not?
Yeah. So, I think that simplicity in messaging is key, and to really realize the value of your signage real estate when it comes to both being on site and online, and again bringing consistency there. So pick what your messages are, maybe pick your top 2 to 3 value propositions that you want to get across to your customer, and figure out the simplest way to get those communicated across to them, not in a way, again, that you as an operator understand, but in a way that a customer, understands. Maybe you talk to your family that's outside of the car wash industry and say, hey, what do you look for when you pull in to a car wash? Or what's your favorite retailer doing right now that really calls to you and makes you want to support that brand? And I think that, again, not to continue to say the same thing over and over again, but simplicity and consistency are so key in getting your messaging across. There's a reason when you're watching TV you see the same commercial over and over and over again, because the number of times that they know you need to see that message before it sinks in exists. And we as car wash operators need to be using the same tactics when it comes to trying to sell our message and our brand.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Like, I mean, I think that menus, look, is one of the things in this industry that we are still sitting on and kind of an old model of doing things, right? In so many ways, this industry is changing and evolving and adapting. And you're seeing all these great things happening on the technology front, but we're holding on to some baggage when it comes to our menus, friends. I mean, it's real. I mean, we know how it was done, and we want to put all the logos up there, and we want to tell the customers, we're going to educate them on how our process works along the way. And you can do that to an extent, but I mean, honestly, as a customer, they don't care. They want clean, dry, shiny, and it's that's all that matters to them at the end of the day. Let's go into some provocative thoughts then. Let's start thinking about what might we be able to change when it comes to our menus, and how might we be able to evolve our current menu structures and how we approach them into something new. And so to do that, I think we're gonna like try to steal something, right? Because there's no original thought out there. You just take and grab, right? You take and grab. So I was doing a lot of research on restaurant menus, right? What do they do? Like, what's best practice in that space? So let's talk about a thing. I want to talk about 2 things. One is this notion of do you need the currency sign on your prices? And the second thing is, do you need your prices? So you all can, I'm going to give you each an opportunity to speak to this. You can pick either one of those things about the currency sign or actually having prices. Your choice. So I've given you all a few minutes by blabbering so that you could think and prepare for that. Nick, you're up, my friend.
Be on the spot first. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. These are 2 innovative ideas, and I like that this is a forum where we get to discuss this out in the open. I don't know if I have a specific answer. I think that the one thing that we've put a lot of time, energy, and effort behind is finding a way, now using pricing as a way to show the value of the membership, from single visit pricing next to the unlimited membership pricing. And part of the conversation at the point of sale is kind of talking through having a conversation with non-members as they pull up. To pull that off, I love the idea. I'm just trying to think, big picture. How do you continue to have those conversations where it makes sense? Because some people are purchasing on price. Other people are purchasing on value or perceived value. And how can we as marketers set up our frontline team members for success if they don't have something that they're used to? I'm interested to see what Ann and Jessica said. I like this topic.
Yeah. And you get to go next. I'm going to hold my thoughts until the end.
Yeah, I would say I'd be reticent to remove the prices. I mean, that to me is bold.
Yeah.
In the menu on site, I could see different applications where that would work. If you have a brochure, for example, or your website, and you're able to gain interest that pulls people to the site for trial. But I'd be reticent to remove that from the actual menu on site. Where I do think that I'm aligning with that overall philosophy is reducing the amount of just digits and visual weight. We're talking to people who are in their cars. This needs to be a 3-second headline read type digestion of your information. So what we've done at Soapy Joe's, we do have the dollar sign to answer your question directly, but we've dropped the decimal and the cents. So all of our numbers are round. It's not $9.99 for our intro wash. Our classic Joe is $10. And, customers are smart. They know $9.99 is 10. And it 10, 15, 20, we've got a nice clean architecture. People clearly can see that and see those distinctions. I think it goes back ultimately also to just the speed of processing on our customers as they're trying to make those decisions. So that's one step in the direction of simplifying from a literal digit perspective what's on there.
Yeah, but Ann, what about a .97 or a .95?
Man, now you're starting to get into the ugly, Matt. No me gusta. Yeah, I mean, I've spent some time in the restaurant space and have done a lot of research on consumer perception of 99, ending on the 9s, ending on the 5s, the 65, the 75. And ultimately, I know that the research shows that really only matters if you're pulling into that next 10. So a 19.99 pulling into the 20 helps with that perception. But I challenge that today. Customers are so smart, and the information available to them is so broad and wide. I just really think they know $19.99 is $20. We're not fooling them. But we're not.
I would love for them to redo all of that research, right? I mean, that's based on some stuff that's pretty old, and I would love to see what would happen if they redid all of those studies today. Yeah. So if anybody out there is big into research and you want to go do that, that'd be super fascinating. You should do that, and you should share with us, and we'll talk about it on the show. Jessica, how about you? What do you think about this idea of like, you don't need the currency symbols and you don't need the price?
Yeah, I mean, the express model really kind of took off with the $3 and $5 car wash, decades ago. And people just slapped that on the side of their building, free vacuums and the price of the wash. And that was pretty much it. Now we've, gotten a little bit more complex with the unlimited packages and the different options that some people feel like their customers may need or may want. There are success stories out there of operators that are doing a single wash package, and they have 2 options on the menu, and it is, here's the wash package for today, and here's the wash package for a month, and that's it. And I think that there's something, again, to be said for knowing your market, including what your competition is doing, and knowing what the market needs versus what it can bear. And so, I mean, obviously there's a reason why years ago Walmart ended everything in .97. But I think we're going away from that. The society as a whole isn't using cash as much. You talk to some operators have gone completely cashless, and they are all credit or online. And so, yeah, when you're thinking, people are still rounding, they're still thinking about the dollar bills. Are they thinking as much about the change anymore? I don't think so. Do you think that you could get rid of the dollar sign or some punctuation here or there on a menu? Yeah, if it's designed correctly, of course, I think you could successfully do that and limit, what characters you're putting out there. Because again, there's value to that real estate. And what is this emblem or item or word or number going to gain me in putting it on this piece of signage?
So are you guys ready for the next one? I'm ready. All right. So here's the deal. So, okay. I love this conversation around the pricing and like, do we put the numbers on or not? Let's assume that, look, in the car wash space, I don't think we're ready to like remove the numbers. All right. So let's just assume that we're going to take off the dollar signs because we need some space on our menu. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep it clean. We're going to leave the prices on. Let's talk a little bit about like how you lay that out, right? Because every menu I've ever seen does it the exact same way. They're stacked. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5's too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if you look at a menu design best practice from the restaurant industry, what they'll tell you is that is not a good idea. Why? Because you are incenting that customer to make an immediate choice based on price alone. So this is like a foundational question. And this is going to be, I'm really excited to hear what you guys say, because what we're talking about is, do we want our customers to make decisions based on price? Do we want them to make it based on what's actually happening in our wash packages that we get really excited about? Or the combination of both? And then how do you do that, right? So if we don't want them to based on price, we're doing it wrong. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to put Ann on the spot first this time. What say you,
Yeah,
Ann?
I would say that we are hoping that our customers are making a choice off of the benefits, not even the features or the price. So that's one thing I would encourage if you are able to get out of, and I think that's where we're saying a lot of the visual weight on these menus comes from, is either listing or having iconography that denotes each individual component within a wash to try and telegraph to our consumers what the value is, what's stacked in there. Like, yeah, you want to pay $15, $20, $35 for this thing because there's a lot of stuff in there. But at the end of the day, they don't understand what they're getting. So we're really hoping that with those graduated components on our menu that we do at Soapy Joe's include a benefit statement to go along with the feature list. So like you were saying, classic wash and dry, you've got your wash, dry, protect, and then your wash, dry, protect, and shine. And that also allows those associates on our operations team to understand and have that 5-second elevator pitch. Well, why do you want this one? It's got the, it's the shiniest you're going to get. It's the top wash package. I mean, ultimately, this is what you want. Middle one, tire shine all day long. This is where you're protecting your vehicle, etc. So I think having those benefit statements to get our consumers buying off of what they're going to get out of it is where we're really leaning into our strategy there at Soapy Joe's on the menus.
I like that framing of it, because it's about making it value unique and not value add, right? You're not just adding more stuff. You're trying to speak to the specific benefit that the customer gets. I love that. Nick, what say you?
Yeah. So I love what Ann said, and this thought of benefits and perceived value. I mean, we're somewhat unique because we're selling a service, right? At the end of the day. And a lot of times you need to experience that service to attach some sort of value to it. So us at Sergeant Clean, we focus on speed, smile, and sparkle. So how do we focus on those benefits potentially for someone that's never used our services before, but we're trying to communicate that value at the point of sale. And I think Ann also said a great thing about the 5-second elevator pitch. It's, I have a sales background, and at times I'll tell the team that, while in my past life, the ticket value was a lot higher, the sales cycle was a lot longer. And you almost have to have a stronger sales skill set to be able to kind of pitch someone in that 3 to 5 seconds and get them hooked on the value of the membership than I did with a higher ticket value in a longer sales cycle. So it's kind of wrapping benefits and messaging around this. But I think you're bringing up some great outside of the box questions, Matt, in terms of menu as a whole.
Well, and I think, Nick, I think you hit on something here that's really important. This is hard. Like, this is a hard thing to do and a hard nut to crack. And I think that you have to put the work into it, and you have to think about your menus the same way that you think about your wash process, or the same way that you think about your pitch for unlimited programs. You have to do the work, you have to try some things, and you have to really think through that process, because otherwise you're just getting lazy, right? And you're just slapping stuff on. So, okay. So that's my soapbox for that. Jessica, do you have thoughts on this topic?
Of course. You hear all the time about, trying to draw the eye up, right, on a menu sign, and how do you accomplish that? And so a lot of times it's the brighter colors are up top, or the larger bubble is on top, or the larger font is on top. But, we are taught, for the most part as a society, to start reading from the top down. And so that top area is so crucial. That's obviously where you're going to be putting what you want them to choose. Now, what all goes into that, I think, there's a lot of different opinions, and I don't know which one would necessarily be the winner there, but you do have to consider, when you're going through, a fast food restaurant, all of their value meals are generally going to be larger and on the top of their menu. And then all the individual items will be below that on a menu. And so when you're looking at your menu design and how you want to lay everything out. Yeah, we probably do all, stand in line and say, my menu follows that, exact recipe, and it's the top package is the top wash. I do think, kind of to go back to the value benefit conversation with Ann and Nick, a lot of people are trying to justify, well, I want to charge $25 for my wash package, or I want to charge $30 for the top package. Yeah. And so they feel this need to justify themselves on the menu and add a whole bunch of stuff to that top package, more to make themselves feel better for charging that price. And you do need to break away from that. You do need to find a little bit of confidence in, okay, I've done my research. I know what my product is. I know what my competition's doing. Now, how do I communicate that I have the best product to offer them on the menu, and what it means to the customer? That's the trick. That's the magical equation.
That's so good. If y'all are watching or listening to this, I hope you're taking notes, because this stuff this is liquid gold, my friends. All right, so I want to shift gears a little bit. Jessica, you were hitting on something that I think is pretty universal in terms of, like, top, right? Eyes go to the top. On restaurant menus, it's top right is where they put the thing they really want you to buy. On websites, guess what, friends? If you don't know this, top right of the website, that's the thing they want you to do, right? So if you're going to buy on a website, it's in the top right. I want to talk about, is there something we should be doing with our menus that's different? I mean, because really we do follow that recipe. We follow it like top down, top right. That's the big one. You also see people doing things with their menus where they do the big numbers and then they do the strike through. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So we're getting a little bit back into the bad, but I really want to talk about this a little bit in terms of, is there anything maybe different or creative we should be thinking about with our menu design from a tactical perspective? Is there anything that kind of jumps up, or you guys have been thinking about? And again, I'm trying to buy you guys some time, because I didn't give you this question in advance, so I'm talking a lot of words so that you have a minute. We're going to go in reverse order, because Jessica, I think you deal with menus maybe a little bit more than the rest of us.
Yeah. So, you could think about one of the things, and just kind of messing around with different designs and things. Your sign is more than likely going to be a rectangle, but what if you design it in a way that you look at it more as like a globe? And so you're going to put your main wash package or your biggest product offering in a circle in the center. And then maybe you have smaller print that's built in all around that in different ways, but it creates that bullseye effect. Target uses the bullseye really well, but if you were to look at that and you were going to put that on a menu and put your best package right in the center. That's where you want people's eyes to go. How would you graphically build around that? And so I think that that's a different way to think about the menu instead of kind of the moving your eye up or the waterfall perspective. Is if you think about it in the form of a bullseye, how would that look artistically, and how could you make that, number one, decrease transaction times for your customers, and number two, move your wash mix up.
I love that idea. I think that's super cool because guess where the most value is on a dartboard, friends?
Yeah.
It's the bullseye. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I love that. I love that idea. Anne, what about you?
Well, I would say, we're talking a lot about the static assets that are the menu panels on a site. And those are, frankly, they're expensive. They're kind of a fixed component. And you may be sitting at home thinking, well, I'm not going to rebuy all those. So how do I put this into play? I would say get creative with how your menu is displayed on your express pay stations, because those are digital and there's a lot more play there. So we've had a lot of success in thinking about different merchandising and A/B testing what's happening on those express pay terminals. It gives you a lot of flexibility to play with some of the ideas that we're sharing today and not have to go out and buy, new hardware for your site. So one example concretely that we did at Soapy Joe's was we've got a buy 5, get 1 free 6-pack on our single washes. And that was in our journey, in the flows. Do you want to wash? Yes. Single wash? Yes. How about a 5-pack? Great. But we ended up putting that on the very front and merchandising it, get a free wash. And then you follow up with here's how you access that. But our sales of those 5-packs skyrocketed based on how we were placing that within our menu architecture in that digital environment on our XPTs. So I would suggest something like that. It's a little more flexible and you can really tease out different layouts, anything like that that's really going to be eye-catching.
And you can measure it right away. Yeah.
Does it work? Did you?
Nick, how about you?
Well, I don't know if I have a specific answer, but I have a little bit of a suggestion. And I think that, a lot of times we may be looking at our industry specific for new and innovative ideas. And I think we are an industry that pushes forward. But I think that us as operators, a great practice is to look at other industries and see what's going on in those spaces as well. And maybe there's best practices there that we can apply to our business specifically, or maybe the industry as a whole. We have a dedicated practice to look at other kind of membership-driven industries and see what might be working there as well, because it could be applicable to us. So I'd say let's not limit ourselves to just looking to see what's going on in our space. Let's look beyond and see where there might be some benefits there that could help us as well.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. Look outside and bring it in. Okay, so I've got 2 more things I want to talk about. One is going to be pretty easy. The other, I don't know. The one that I don't know about is digital signs, digital menus. Are you doing them? Should we be doing them? Good, bad, ugly. And let's start, Nick, with you. What's your take on digital signs? What if I wanted to replace, because then to Anne's point, you could swap out whatever you want. You can message it any way you want. Are you guys doing them? Do you think they're good, bad, indifferent?
So I know in a previous panel, we did the thumbs up, thumbs down, right? So I'd probably get one of these. We're in the middle. I think it's in its infancy. We do have digital signage at some of our locations. What Ann had said is certainly relevant, whereas if you have a lot of physical signage on site and something changes, yikes, because that's an expense right there. And especially if you're changing it, maybe if it's seasonal or maybe you go through a full-blown menu change, you have to account for that. But I think digital allows us to be a little bit more agile. You can have a little fun with it. Digital also presents an opportunity to not just have static signage. It can be certainly dynamic, but we use it both for promotion of services, but also directional as well. So we're toying with the idea of replacing the traditional wait go at the tunnel exit with some digital signage that we can also use for promotion. So I think there's a place. I think we might be at the infancy, but technology is a big piece of what we're doing now and where we're going. So we'll see.
I really like I like the exit end strategy, because that's like the hardest part to maintain a touch point with the customer, right? And it's so important that as they leave, you're able to like try and get in front of them one last time. I mean, I think that's why it's really nice when people do the towel dry at the end. It might not add any real benefit, but at least it's another reminder of the benefit that you just received as you went through that location. Okay, so we'll come back to that maybe. And what about you? Digital menus, not maybe with the XPTs or anything like that, but actual big tall
Right.
digital menus.
I understand the debate, and for me and my money, I'm going regular old school LED backlit with the plexiglass in front.
Yeah.
I definitely see the utility on being able to switch through, make things seasonal, and there's definitely benefit there. But I think the other side of that coin is if you're flipping out your menu and you're having those point in time moments, you may fall into the trap of what we were discussing earlier with overcomplicating it, wanting to put the whole, like everything on there. And I like the simplicity of it. Honestly, it's a huge expense too. And I just have never been able to, swallow the cost of that and then be able to flow through. It's also a long-term commitment to being able to make use of that opportunity to swap out. So whether it's your creative team, an IT team on the back end, I think there's also some functionality there that you need to consider in the total expense and total commitment of having that board. So I've stayed away from it both in my restaurant days before this and then in the car wash space, but I definitely see the utility. I haven't taken that leap personally in brands I've been involved with.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some real problems or challenges. I mean, maybe we should call them opportunities. Either way, it's hard stuff, because look, you don't know how long those panels are really going to last, because at the end of the day, car washing is a harsh environment. It just is, right? I mean, it took a long time for us to get LEDs to a place in this industry where you could really use them and rely on them. So here we are. Maybe that's happening with panels. Maybe we'll get there. I think the bigger component that we will never really think about in advance is that management piece, right? Because that's just another content channel that somebody has to manage, that has to fit into a strategy, that has to be maintained. And guess what, friends? The content monster is real, and it is eating us every day. So we will we will never be able to stay in front of that thing. Jessica, what about you? What are you seeing from customers in terms of like digital approaches? What are people doing out there that you're seeing?
From a digital menu standpoint, I see it very rarely. I think there's still a big, cost that's a barrier to entry kind of there. And I think when you're looking at your wash operations, you want, as few things that can break as possible. And so if you really think about a digital sign and all the things that could go wrong with it versus just a well backlit or just a well lit sign in general, it's a little bit simpler and safer. I think that people are bringing digital technology in creative ways in other places in their wash, whether that's with exciting lighting that they're putting in or different signs within the car washer around the facility. And I think you probably get a little bit more bang for your buck right now when it comes to some LED fixtures and what their capabilities are and what their replacement costs may be versus one of the larger menu signs out front.
This is part of why I love these panels, is because we can have different opinions, friends, and it's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. There's lots of stuff that we could talk about when it comes to menus. I want to end with something that I always like to end with, which is, what is one thing that I can do today to be better tomorrow? And so, because you've had some time, Nick, I'm going to let you kick us off on this. One thing today that I can do to be better tomorrow. It can be menu related or otherwise.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned it in my good. It's just looking at your existing menus now and kind of look through the lens of non-member or guest and say, is this right? I'm not looking through the eyes of the operator. I'm looking for someone that maybe has never used our services before. And some things may bubble up from that. I think it's, I'll keep it short, but yeah, perspective or lens of a non-member.
Love it. Love it. And how about you?
I'd say work on those benefit statements. And once you have those, make sure you're flowing them through to your staff. Do they understand beyond the feature list that's involved with every single wash package? Do they understand the benefits? And that's something you can create. You don't have to retool your signage on site. It's a speaking piece that you could add in and start today.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Jessica, you gotta take us home here. What is one thing that I can do today to make me better tomorrow?
I think something that to me is simple, but we lose sight of it so quickly, is to remember that you yourself are a consumer as well. And so when you run across something that you're attracted to, or that hits home with you, or, that really works for you, think about, why was that, and how could you bring it home to your operation? Look outside of the box, and don't forget that, if there's a logo or a sign or even a commercial that makes you giggle, what was it about that you could then bring back to your operation? I think that it brings a lot of personal warmth and feeling to your branding when you can do something like that, and people will identify with it more.
Great advice. Great advice. Friends, that's going to do it for this episode of Menu Matters, because your menu does matter, friends. And darn it, we like it. I don't know, whatever. Here we are, friends. Do what you need to do with your menu. Put in the work. If you've got a topic that you want us to cover on this show that's not menus, that's something else, go ahead and let me know. If you're doing something great, no matter what it is, let me know. That's mdewolf@carwash.org. And friends, if you want to catch more episodes of this program, you can do that at carwashmagazine.com. The podcast is anywhere you're consuming your podcast content. And until next week, there's just one thing you've got to do out there, and that is keep it clean.